Hello and welcome to this Beard Clipper video. In this video I'm going to show you how I created the diorama that I call Frog Witch. Now this is one of my dioramas that I place on the chopping blocks. I've got a fair few of them now, so if you go back in the playlist this is part of, which is 3D printed I think, you'll find those. But yeah, so I took this printed model and made a diorama out of it. It's on display now in the lounge in our house, and I really love it, and Rosie loves it as well, so yeah, really cool build. Let me know what you think in the comments below, but if you don't want to leave a comment, that's fine. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again at the end. Next to my series of people riding, so that go on to chopping boards, I've got this awesome one, which is a lady riding a frog, and I really liked it. It was a Kickstarter. Blackthorn Witches, I think, was a Kickstarter, and I'm just doing this and noticing a bunch of supports I haven't really removed, so I'm going to have to get those done. Had a little bit of a problem with the print, as you can see on the bottom, slight print failure there, but nothing I can't solve with some creative basing, so I'm not going to bother printing it again. I'll probably have a bit of fun with some water effects or something like that on the base for this one. But anyway, I'm going to get this primed after I've cleaned up all these supports, you can see. And then painted, and I'll bring you along when I come to the base. As I seem to be saying a lot at the moment, maybe I should do some more painting videos, but yeah, I'm just going to get that painted up and then I'll work on the base on camera. Well, I managed to get the witch on frog painted up, and I'm pretty happy with that. Nice purple hat with a little bit of green detailing to go with the green eyes. I might do some more on the eyes. I was thinking about doing it as a hypno frog, so I might get a fine liner out and fine line some on the eyes. But quite a simple paint job, because the fun part of this is going to be, as I always say, in the basing. So I don't actually have a base in hand for this, for what I want to do. So I'm going to have to go to the shop and see if I can find a chopping board, because that's what this is going on, a chopping board, which will be suitable for my idea. But yeah, managed to get it painted. Pretty happy with that. That can go into a little bit of storage until I get the correct base. So I've managed to find myself a chopping block which is of the right size for this little diorama, my witch riding frog. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to build up a base which will be like a marshy, swampy base for her to be sitting in with her frog. So yeah, pretty pleased with this, apart from the fact that it's got a yellow handle. So I'm not sure what I'll do about that. I might repaint it green or something like that, I don't know. But yeah, so I'm going to make use of some clear bathroom silicone, that's the word I was thinking of, bathroom silicone, to do my water effects. I'm not going to use resin, and I'll use tufts and other things to kind of sell the marsh. So now I've got the chopping board, I can start work on that. So yeah, I'll get started on that very soon. I just wanted to show the board. I'm very pleased that I finally found one. It took a little while. So I held off on doing this, just very busy and at time, and I'm glad I did, because I was out at the shops with Rosie and I saw this, and this is a far nicer, better base for what I've got in mind. So I'm going to make use of this rather than the one. If I just grab it, it's just over here. This was the original plan, and as you can see, I've put them next to each other. That one is just so much better. So yeah, I will eventually get around to continuing on this project. I just thought I'd show you that I have got a slightly different base. Rosie keeps looking at this and she loves it, so I think I should probably get it finished so that it's on a display. So this is the base I've decided to go with. I'm going to do it with the side that doesn't have the stamp on it. And what it's going to be is relatively simple, but I think it's going to look good. So I'm just going to quickly pencil mark in what I'm thinking about. And it's going to be something like that, the edge of the texture, maybe a little further up. And I'm going to have the frog sat in a pool of water, and then I will have long rushes, long grasses and grass and dirt around the water. I might even do it to the edge actually. There we are, let's do that. So that's going to be roughly where my water is going to go, and I'll have the rest done as an edging. So the first thing I'm going to do is get some glue and sand, paint that on, Goodness me, it's been weeks since I've hobbied and everything is separated. There we are. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is take this PVA, watered down PVA here, get my sand from underneath the bench, and what we'll do is we'll just paint on and scatter sand on around this where I want to do the water. At first I'll do it in small sections and I probably won't film it all, but yeah, watered down PVA is just brilliant for this sort of thing. There we are. So I'll do the rest off camera, but this is a technique I've done any number of times. Got a bucket of sand, scatter it on, tip it off, and there we have it, some texture. So I'll get that done all around where I want to have this, around the outside of the pond, and I'll bring you back for the next step when I get to it. I've been staring at this, thinking about what the next step is going to be, and I've realised why I'm struggling. And it's because I didn't actually mean to put, it wouldn't be this channel if I didn't make stupid mistakes. I didn't mean to put the that gravel straight on, the sand straight on. I meant to do a little rise with modelling compound. So that's what I'm going to do now. So we've seen me many times doing this, but it's been a while since I've actually filmed the process and how I get the mix right. So what I do is I put an amount of the modelling compound. This is from Geek Gaming, of course. Put a little dribble of water in. Just remember you can add water, but you can't remove water. And then mix it until you're happy with the consistency. Now I like it relatively stiff, particularly for this kind of a application. So as you can see, I'm putting in very little water. Like I say, you can add water, but you can't remove it. So just be cautious. And then when you're happy with your mix, and I'm relatively happy with that mix, then you can apply it. Let's make it nice and smooth. There we are. That's a good consistency for this. So what we're then going to do is going to come along and we're just going to apply it here. Now I may need to make more. Looks like I might have done a little, I've made a little bit too small quantity, but that's fine. And the reason I want to do this is because I'm going to be, I want her to be sitting on a frog which is in a pond, and I'm going to put some leaves, whatever they're called, you know, the large green leaves. Brain's a bit dead today, can't remember words. So yeah, I'm going to need to mix up just a little bit more, that's a shame. But yeah, so that's why I was struggling to know where the next step was. It's because I hadn't done this step. And after this, the next step is going to be painting it a little bit. Probably apply the sand over the top of black paint to give it a bit of depth. So yeah, there we are. So what I'll do now, mix up a little bit more, and then what I did then was just wet my hands in the water. Keep your hands wet, otherwise it sticks to your fingers. And when it's gone off a little bit, you can come along and smooth it off if you want it to be smooth, or you can leave it to be a bit lumpy if that's what you want. But yeah, that's better. Oops, nearly made a silly mistake. Anyway, I'll bring you along for the next step, which will be painting it and paint and sand when I get to it. But now I'm going to mix some more compound up and just fill in these last couple of little bits. Well, this has sat for a little bit, so I really should do something about it. I've got very, very little of my terrain glue left. What I'm going to do is I'm going to scatter my sand on now, again for the second time. So I won't film all of it, but this is basically the same thing as we did before. And then once that's dried, then I'll start painting it and adding the final details. So we're not actually far off on this. These techniques are very, very simple and very quick, So yeah, paint your PVA on, get your sand, scatter your sand on, tip your sand off, done. So I'll finish it off now and then bring you along for the painting when I'm ready, when that's dried. I will seal this again with the same glue, but I probably won't film that. Alright, so next thing to do on this, which I've left for literally weeks, is to paint the base. And I'm going to do that with this lovely reddy brown that I bought ages ago in Belgium when I first started this adventure. And I'm going to use that as my base colour. And then I've got a couple of shades of green, which I'm going to use in the pond area. And then it's going to be a case of starting up with the text, with the reeds and grass and what have you, and building that up so that it looks like a pond or a marsh. But the first thing is going to be just to make this, put this paint over it, and try to cover up those white bits that you can see on the edge as well, because they're a bit annoying. I should have got those really with the sand, but never mind. Can come along delicately like this and cover those up. So yeah, so I'll get the brown on, and once I've got the brown on, I'm going to then start blending in greens. I'm actually going to do it relatively wet blending technique. I think that's going to look really nice. So I'll just quickly get this painted over and I'll bring you back when I come with the green. Right then, so a couple of fun green colours to start mixing in. And this is just going to make it look a little bit kind of manky. Now I've pulled way too much green out, as you can see, onto my tray. That's one of the risks. I normally don't pour paint out when I'm working with these bottles, because that happens. But it's just one of those things. What I'm going to have to do is try to scoop it back in again. And yes, I am that tight. But we're just going to mix this all together into a kind of grungy, mungy looking mouldy mess, adding more brown in. There we are, make it look a bit disgusting. And that is that. So I'm going to try to get these greens back into the pots, because that's a lot of waste there. Let that dry, and then what we'll do is we'll start to build up some textures inside where the water effect is going to go. Put some reeds and what have you. You can see here, this is where the witch is going to sit, so I'll make sure to leave that so that that doesn't get in the way, and then we'll stick the witch in, and then we'll do the water effects, and then we'll do around the edge with the rest of the grass. But I'm going to save this paint now and leave that to dry. This is dried nicely, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start, as I said, to work on some reeds. One of the best ways to make reeds is to get an old brush that you've used the hell out of, or if you have builders around, save the brushes before they go, and you can just snip them off and then separate them out a bit, and they look really good as reeds on the end of a swampy area. So I'm going to do that a little bit, cut this brush up a bit, get some reeds out, and I'll bring you back to show you what it looks like when I'm about to start sticking them in. And I'll also be using some other shop bought stuff. But why spend money when you can use a brush and then recycle it onto your hobby? So I'm going to get on with that now. Right, so I've cut a few of those, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start to build up this swampy area at the edge of the pond. Now I'm not entirely sure whether this is going to work. I may need to get some hot glue or super glue, because I don't think that PVA is going to give enough support. No, it's not. I thought that might be the case. So I'll get the hot glue gun in a minute and do that. What I've also done is I've picked out some nice colourful plants from Serious Play, and I'm going to stick those around, and I forgot to pick them out of the drawer. But I also have this hay that I use quite a lot, and some dead brushes, which I'm just going over for now. So I will be building up all around the edge of this using these materials. So I'll quickly do the dead brush just to show you how I put it on. I've done it a few times on the channel now, but I always use tweezers because I don't want to get the tuft stuck to me, and I always make sure that it has some PVA glue on it as well, because that will make sure you hold it in place. So I'm going to work away on this now, get the hot glue to stick these upright tufts down, and I'll bring it back and show what it looks like when it's done. Well, there we are. I'm going to leave it like that for now, come back and see how it looks when it's dried. Might add a few more, but as you can see, I've got a patch here of the bristle, old paintbrush bristle, and a bunch of patches here, and I've put some coloured bushes around and flowers just to bring some splashes of colour. And what I'm going to do next, once I'm happy with the colour, is I'm going to come along and put grass and what have you. So it won't be with the brown, it'll be green, and I may put a few more around this once I've stuck the actual witch in place. I may put some more tufts in actually in where the swampy area is going to be, but I'll do that after the witch is in so I can position it all together. So yeah, now I'm going to let it go off, let it dry, and I'll return and have a look at it a bit later on. So I've come back through, had a quick look, pretty happy with how it is looking at the moment. I'm just heating up the hot glue gun again, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick the frog in place, and then I've cut some more off of my used brush, and I'm going to glue those in a lump in front there. But while I wait, I've just discovered this awesome little flowering bush thing, which I think would look quite nice back here. So I'm just going to use my bradawl to make a hole to plant it in. There we are. It's a bit hard to do that, but we've got a hole. And then dip the base in PVA, which is just out of shot over there, and then slot that in. And there we are. So that's nice. So when the hot glue gun's finally heated up, I will glue her in place here, put the extra reeds here, have a think about whether I'm going to do anything else in the swamp. I might put something back here actually, to be honest, and then it'll be time to start doing the clear silicone, clear bathroom sealer as my water effects, which is what I'm going to do. So yeah, we're actually getting quite close to this being finished. I'm not sure whether I'm going to do the grass before the sealer actually. I'm just thinking about it, I might, but there's still, as you can just see here, a few bits of stray hot glue which needs to be pulled off. There we are, that's better. Right, I will decide whether I'm going to do the grass or whether I'm going to do the water after she's in place, but either way I'll bring you along for what the next step is. Alright, so I've decided I'm going to do the static grass. So I've got some dead static grass and some autumn static grass, and I think that's going to be a good mix. So I'm going to put a little bit, half and half, into my Warworld Scenics Progress Micro, which I've started using more than the big one for these sorts of small projects. So I'll just put a little bit of each in and then give it a bit of a mix up to give it a bit of a varied look. There we are. And then I make use of the fast tack glue from, we dropped it from the same company. That was close, wasn't it? That would have been catastrophic. So what we do here, and I've done this on the channel a fair bit, but I'll show you again anyway, is anywhere you want to put some static grass, you put some glue, obviously. Now I'm not going to cover the entire area. I want there to be some bits of brown showing through. Otherwise, what was the point of putting the brown on there? So yeah, so we'll just spread that around, and you can either use an old paintbrush or your finger to smudge it a bit. And then once we've got that on, we then will turn the static grass applicator on and start to spread the good stuff. So the way this works, if you've not seen one before, is you have a little kind of like peg, and you shake this and it lifts it up with static, and then when you're done, you tip it up and shake it off. So there we are. Doesn't take very long. There we are. And there we have some nice grass going on around the edge of the pond. Right, so I'll finish the rest of this and then bring you back for the water effects, which is going to be the last bit to do on this, which is awesome. Right, so I've just finished doing the static grass, and I decided that actually what I want to do is put a little bit more of this brighter green into the swampy area, because it's all a little bit dull and I wanted it to look a little bit more kind of radioactive and horrible. So I'm just going to come along now with an old brush and put some brighter patches. It will dull down as it dries, and if I decide I don't like it, then I can always put something else over the top as well. But I think this is just going to lift the piece a bit, and it was looking a little bit kind of dull and samey, green, dark green, brown. That should just make it a little bit more luminescent underneath the water effects when I come to it. So yeah, let that dry and then do the water effects, and then it'll be done. Next day, I'm much happy with how that is now looking. So the next and final thing to do is to get the clear bathroom sealant. It's not silicone because it's a yeah, it's not made of silicone. It's but it is the sealant you use on your bathroom, and I use this a lot for making water effects because it works really well. What I have is I have some 99% alcohol inside this chutney jar, and alcohol can be used really well with this stuff to smooth it out and give it texture, or give it little ripples if that's what you want. So it's quite a nice little technique. So what you do is find that you've got a blocked tube. Oh, there it is, it's coming out now. What you do is you squirt it on, and I think I haven't cut this tube enough to make it an easy squirt, but I'll probably open it up a little bit once I've stopped filming. But anyway, so we're going to squirt that on into an area where you want your water. Cool, that's tight. Oh, there we are. Yeah, I'm going to need to open that out. That's a little bit tight. And then once you've got some on, I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see a bit better. Let's just get that camera position. There we are. What I do is I either dip my finger in the alcohol, or if you're not happy to do that, then the other alternative is to use a cocktail stick, and then just keep wetting and dipping, and you can then shove the silicone sealant around without it getting stuck to your fingers, and give it the correct shape and texture that you're looking for. And it works really well. It's a really nice little technique, just making use of materials that you can find very easily anywhere, and it doesn't involve pouring resin, which in this case wouldn't work because I've not got a dam at the back. So I'm going to carry on with this now, just doing the same thing, put up a little bit down, smooth it out, a little bit down, smooth it out, and I'll show what it looks like when I'm done. And there we have it. That didn't take too long, and I'm pretty happy with the textures I've managed to get in that. I'm not sure how well that's going to show up on camera, but in real life it's glistening and it's looking lovely. So that's that project finished. What a unlooked for bonus this week. It's been sat there for ages and ages, as have most of my projects, and I just suddenly decided I'm going to finish that before Ardagon, and I have. So I'm very, very pleased. So I'm going to put that on the shelf and enjoy looking at it. Rosie loves it as well, so she will enjoy looking at it. I really like how I've structured it with the really bright, colourful plant there and the kind of dirty, gunky, old reeds here. I think it looks really nice. And when you get down in front of it, which let me just move the camera, take the camera off the tripod, and I'll move the camera around a little bit more so you can see it from different angles. So moving to shaky cam, you can see what I mean about how I really like the composition of the piece. I'm really pleased with how it's turned out, and I'm pleased with how the water's turned out. It's not really showing up very well on camera, not that I can see anyway, but it is looking brilliant. So there we are. Witch on Toad, or Witch on Frog, whichever one you want to say, is done and dusted, and can now go on go on display. Well, there we are. As you can tell from the comments I make during the video, this project took a long time because it kept sitting on the side, just kept put to one side. Months and months and months at a time I wouldn't touch it, but getting it done was a great feeling. And as I say, it's Rosie really loves this. I'm not entirely sure why. It's a bit strange, but she really loves this particular one. I think she likes frogs, to be honest. So yeah, it's a cool little thing. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think. Has this inspired you to do some creating? Maybe make use of these cheap chopping blocks you can get in the hardware store as a base for dioramas. I find them really useful, and I've got plans for many more coming up. So yeah, do let me know. But if you don't feel like commenting, that's fine. I really appreciate it that you've watched this video, and particularly if you've made it this far. That's really cool. So thank you for watching, and as I always say at the end of all my videos, everyone please do stay healthy, stay safe, and stay well.